watching some journalists from IGN and reading the comments section is absolutely hilarious. It's like someone asked, like, how do these people have jobs? And someone else responded, it's like, who they know and who they blow. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a little bit too misogynistic for my taste. But usually the truth hurts. It is difficult to understand how they have a job, considering that they write about controversies. Like, none of the stuff that they write happens to be what gamers are actually concerned about. Because maybe it's just me, maybe like all the gamers that I hang around with on Discord, on different forums, in online games themselves, just don't seem to be concerned about any of these issues that these people make a fuss about. A gamer is concerned about bugs. A gamer is concerned about loot boxes. A gamer is concerned about the gameplay and the quality. And for some reason, like, none of these things are important for these people. They are going to constantly talk about Borderlands 3 and about what an amazing game it is, while completely ignoring the bugs, the crashes, like all of the things that piss off the actual gamers. And not to mention, like, gamers were pissed off when Borderlands 3, the company, decided to stream at E3 and release some of the names of the people that were involved with the development. So people just wrote down the names and then went on Twitch, and when those names were streaming the game before release, a YouTuber decided to do some journalistic investigation and actually showed some screenshots from the thumbnails from, like, being publicly available. It's not people's fault that they're so stupid that they're not careful with their secretive data. And that YouTuber, which loved the game and, had an entire channel dedicated to Borderlands 3, was hit by copyright strike after copyright strike until they turn off his channel. They sent private detective to his house. Like, what the like, that's a controversy that gamers are really pissed off about, but journalists were doing damage control for that person. Just so you can understand. Like, when I think of video game journalists, I don't think of the gateway between the consumer and the publisher. No, like, journalists are just shills. Like, they are part of the marketing team for the developers nowadays. And often they will start controversies about things that will take away from the conversation about, actual issues. Like, for example, oh, you want to talk about Call of Duty? Well, tell me about the microtransactions, tell me about the stability, the lag, like that's things that gamers care about. But instead we talk about white phosphorus in a video game. Fucking video game. Why not talk about the Dark Elves in Warhammer 40k that like to torture babies because they scream louder and they suffer more? And they feed on the suffering in order to renew their souls. I mean, if you have a problem with white phosphorus, do you have a problem with that? If you have a problem with what about Diablo? Like mythical creatures that steal the human souls. What about using nukes in video games? What about using communists in video games? Like, where do we draw the line? Okay, gamers, aka normal people, like to look at a game, and if they don't enjoy the game, they don't buy it. If it ruins their sensitivities, they don't buy it. We're talking about Battlefield, a game that's about war. It's about killing people. And now it's like, well, let's not use white phosphorus in a video game. It's not white phosphorus. It's pixels on a screen, you morons. Like, it's fictional, right? If these people really are abhorred by this, why aren't they abhorred by rap music? Like, if you're saying that fictional violence causes real violence or something, like, I genuinely don't even give a shit about what their argument is at this point. But if you're so offended about fictional stuff, why aren't you offended about gangsta rap music? Where you pop a cap in a So you got this journalist. Don't care about her. Please don't contact her. She's not important. Like when you talk about the journalist, you talk about all of them. All right, they're like stormtroopers. All of them look the same. All of them fire the same shit, and all of them miss. I believe we need to keep examining violence in video games not through the lens of censorship, but through the lens of context. That's why pieces like John's are important. So it's this circle jerk where they promote each other, nothing never before seen. But I love it when Donald Trump talks about video game violence and how it needs to be censored. They're screeching. It's like, oh, the Republicans, video game violence. And then when that controversy dies down, they start to talk about why video games need to be censored. And it's like, we need to have the conversation. No, you need to fuck off. There is no conversation to be had, all right? Like, it's called artistic freedom. The developer can do whatever he wants, and if it offends you, good. This is how I purchase my game developers. If any developer watches, if your game offends the check marks on Twitter, I will buy it, even if I don't like it. Alright? You can sell me some grand strategy LGBT type of game that, only LGBT people like. I will buy it. I will buy it if it pisses off the correct people. Like, the journalist can sell your game. Listen to me. If it pisses them off, I will buy 2 copies. I will buy 2 copies. It's literally at this point. This is how much I dislike these people and their profession and everything they stand for. I don't like them. And when I go to vote, I want to see what politics these people are pushing so I can vote the opposite. If they vote Republican, I'll vote Communist. If they vote Communist, I'll vote Republican. I generally don't care. Like, legitimately. These people have become my moral compass in life. Whatever they do, I do the opposite. Now that we got that established, she's like, oh no, I'm engaging with the quartering. In other words, you're engaging with someone with a bigger audience than you. Despite the fact that you're at IGN, a lowly YouTuber with a beard. The freaking quartering. The guy that got punched by a man in a dress. Right? This is what we're talking about. Huh? Gets more views than you do. And you're part of a multi-billion-dollar company that has marketing and stuff. Like, even when I browse on other websites, I get, oh, by the way, IGN said that. But the quartering pointed out, like, we still want to censor your video games, but we just want to call it context. So I don't want to censor jack shit, but you know that, and you click to the word because your outrage keeps you warm at night. No. His outrage doesn't keep him warm at night. You are censoring things. Like, the reason I don't care when Donald Trump says video games cause violence is because Donald Trump legitimately has no power over the video gaming industry. All right? Like, the First Amendment exists. If he were to pass a law that would censor video games, they would sue and the Supreme Court would overturn that law. They do not have power. You guys have power. Metacritic is infested with video game journalists, and the developers have to answer to the publisher, and the publisher wants to have a number to know, is this game going to give a sequel, is this game well received, and they are going to look at Metacritic and they are going to say, wow, this game got a 7, this game got a 6, I don't know, we're not going to give it a green light for a sequel. So, Metacritic is filled with socialists masquerading as journalists that constantly want to censor shit. So the developer doesn't have to please the consumer. The developer has to please the journalist so that it gives them a good grade, so that they can get a bonus or whatever. Because we noticed this with Fallout when it came for Fallout 4. Fallout New Vegas. The developers missed the mark on Metacritic, so they didn't get the bonus according to their contract. Horrible, right? It was an excellent game, in my opinion. It was better than Fallout 3 and 4. It deserved better. But unless, you got these socialists that are in Metacritic. And I say socialists because there was a website called Christian Gamer. Now, Christian Gamer was judging video games from a Christianity point of view. And they also had like a review that was like the Christian version, and they had a review that was like just the gameplay version. And I had nothing with it, and they wanted to be on Metacritic, and they were like, oh, no, you're too ideological for... So, just to point out, like, this person is saying, oh, we're not going to censor anything. And the quartering points out that the article she is recommending has, I don't believe something as legally and morally questionable as white phosphorus is appropriate in the very specific way Infinity Ward is applying it here. As someone who's seen firsthand what can happen to the human body in combat, I wish Infinity Ward would give this one a bit more consideration. So, I can't play my grim dark strategy. I can't play my, dark fantasy role-playing games and, like war games that are actually making the war look terrible because this journalist doesn't like it. And he can't just not buy the game. No. He needs to make sure that the developer gets the tip so that he doesn't put it in the game and that other people can't play it. How can I have respect for these people? In what world do you honestly think? And by the way, the gaming community isn't the one upset about it. Like, I generally did not hear any controversy back when Homefront, I believe, was a game where the United States was attacked by North Korea or some shit, and you had white phosphorus in it. Where was the complaints? What? But no one cared. Literally, no one. I've not heard about it at all. So when someone in your life says, hey, maybe you could have considered your portrayal of this in a different way, you scream censor at them because I imagine you do, and I imagine you don't have many close people around you because of it. And Jean Carapaz actually responds, I like how you pretend you actually do this stuff in a calm and civil manner instead of screeching about it all week about it. It's like you can call the game journalist whatever you want, but call them a censor. And yeah, you can call the game journalist everything you want. It goes down on him like water on a raincoat. But call him a censor and see him how he reeks, how he shrivels and goes back into his little hole. But just so you understand who John Phillips is, the guy that she is promoting, apparently a few people are upset about this. Let me apologize. I should have thought before I tweeted. Only throw Hardee's milkshakes at racist, misogynist, and Bill Gates. Disgusting trash for disgusting trash. Do not waste delicious Arby's or Sonic milkshakes. I'd be cool with throwing milkshake at a racist dipshit. I fully agree, and I think we should throw milkshake back at communist dipshits. How about that? How about that, John Phillips? We can have a milkshake battle, huh? Let's see who gets more milkshakes. I'm a chubby person myself, I will even drink the milkshake, go out next to you, and do my special attack. It will be like, bleh!